Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. Good to see you again. It is now Monday, the 24th of February, 2025. Something new that I'm starting this week that I want to try for hopefully a long time if it works, and that is what I call this week's weather. I figure every Monday, let me get in just like I would do even without an audience, take a look at the weather for the week ahead and tell you what I'm seeing. Take a look at the present, what we're thinking could happen down the road about a week out, and then if anything grabs my attention, a big storm, winter storms during the winter, spring severe weather, and of course once we get to the upcoming hurricane season, this will evolve back into my hurricane outlook and discussion videos. But I figure, hey, this is a good way to sort of set the stage for the week ahead, and if we see something that looks like it could be a pretty impactful event, especially something that I might want to go out and investigate in person. You don't really chase all the weather, storm chasing. Sometimes you just go there and it comes to you. I figure, hey, this is a different perspective, a different way of presenting what I would look at, like I said, even without the fine audience that I have out there with you guys, all right? So introducing the first edition of This Week's Weather with yours truly, Mark Sudduth. Good to have you with me. So let's take a look. Where are we now? This is the current situation. And I think this is a good starting point because it kind of sets the stage as to where we will be heading and how the current weather can be impacted by what would be coming up down the road. All right. First of all, you notice along the Mississippi Valley here, all these greens are starting to get some river flooding more and more, and we got to watch for this, especially the very warm Gulf water temperatures. Any springtime severe outbreaks, stalled fronts, whatever, that could be problematic going down the road a piece. For now, these are just different aerial flood warnings. And remember, you can click anywhere on these maps, or this map, and pretty much any map that the Weather Service puts out, and you get these nice little polygons that identify these flood warnings. You click on those, and it gives you all the information you need to look at. And that's part of what I'm wanting to do here is kind of empower you to take over and look at what you're interested in. All right. So these other green areas, it's interesting. We're going to see more and more of this green showing up as we get into the spring season. These are your hydrologic outlooks, and those are giving you information about what could be coming up. This is into late February with very warm temperatures. There's a lot of snowpack up there. You're going to get ice jams and river flooding, and this could start to cause problems, especially for the fine men and women up here that do ranching and agriculture. You know, that's going to really start to matter. So these greens are starting to show up more and more. And then out here in the Pacific Northwest, the storm warnings along the coast, because another powerful Pacific storm is going to be rolling in. But by and large, after the very active period where we saw storm after storm coming across the country through that zonal flow, and it sent me up to the mid-Atlantic states a couple times there for a couple big snow events, it's going to be fairly quiet for a while. And as I'll show you as we look at it the week ahead, most of our storm track is going to be through here in the coming week or so, with not much severe weather just yet for the deep south. But you know, once we get into March, that is going to be more and more of a problem. So here's what it all looks like on the current satellite animation. Low clouds and fog over parts of eastern Texas. Weak surface low perhaps over the northern Gulf Coast states, but then this should really catch your eye up here. This powerful mid-latitude storm heading into the Pacific Northwest. Lots and lots of rain and high elevation snow, windy conditions. I follow a couple of folks on the old Twitter there that cover the weather in the Pacific Northwest, and they do a really good job of explaining it. I mean, they live there. And they're going to get walloped. This is going to be a heck of a storm system. So if you've got plans to travel into the Seattle area, pretty much anywhere into Washington and Oregon, especially by plane, that is going to be awfully hard to do over the next day or so. But the good thing about it is the rain will continue. You need that water out there, that fresh water coming off the Pacific from all that energy, this atmospheric river, as it's called often, and then the high elevation snow, because that leads to snowpack that starts to melt when the temperature is warm, and that gives you hopefully a gradual release of fresh water over the warm months, and that is desperately needed in the west coast areas, the west in general of the United States. All right, so kind of a quiet start to the pattern this week. So what is it looking like as we go forward? So I figure what I'll do is show you the GFS, the operational, and the Euro. And depending on when I produce this video each Monday, if I get up early enough, I'll just show the 0Z models. If it's later in the morning, maybe I got something to do. I mean, still a busy person. And it's in the early afternoon, we'll take a look at the 12Z GFS and compare it to the 0Z Euro. Bottom line, we're going to just keep it simple. What do the operational models show? And then we'll kind of try to interpret, all right, what could that mean for sensible weather, weather that we can feel over the next week. So here's the GFS op, as we call it, 12Z run from today. A few things to point out, and that's what's nice about this. I can draw on it as we go through. So immediately what should grab your attention is the storm system moving into the Pacific Northwest. Some inclement weather out over the southern part of Florida. You might even get a thunderstorm. I can't imagine that the air mass down there is so stable that you don't get any thunderstorms down there, but no widespread severe events, but some rain where you need it. It's been kind of dry in South Florida since October. But notice, once these systems get inland, and now we're out to about 48 hours, with the exception of this little feature right here, it's kind of quiet over the lower 48, which is, I guess, good because it's been pretty active this winter. A lot of people starting to complain about it, especially in the mid-Atlantic. Like, we're done. I know I'm ready for spring. But these systems are by and large going to be moving across the northern tier states. And you can even see it in the thickness values here. Kind of a representation somewhat of how the jet stream is. The trough is not very deep. Certainly no longitudinal troughs like that. And so the cold air, the winter weather is really going to be confined to the northeast and out west here. Now we're at that 168 mark, so this is next Monday, and we just back it up and compare everything and just kind of look through it. No major events, but I do want to point out that the Great Lakes and then down parts of the Appalachians here, because of that northwest flow and the continued Arctic air that's spilling in, and these little clipper systems that are diving out of Canada, you're not out of the woods up here. Boy, parts of the Great Lakes off of Lakes Erie and Ontario, you guys have just been buried in the snow up there. And hopefully somebody watching the video today can tell me, however you do so in the comments, this one place up there on the I-81 corridor, I think it is it Altmar or is it Almar? And it's between Syracuse and Watertown. There's like a lodge out there. There's salmon fishing. I think it's called the Salmon River. I've been there, and I never stopped and talked to a local when I've been up there and asked them, how do you pronounce that town? Maybe it's both. Maybe there's no official way, but I'll just call it Altmar for now. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. Is the T silent? Is it just Almar? But regardless of what it's called, it has had so much snow. It's ridiculous. The pictures of it kind of remind you of some of those shots out of Japan where they are getting many feet of snow. And there are other areas along the lakes. There's this guy I follow on the Twitter up there, Buffalo Snow King, I think is his handle. He's talking about how Lake Erie, 95% ice covered, and yet it's still dumping copious amounts of lake effect snow from Buffalo, points south and west from there. And it just depends on how the airflow is. But the bottom line is that pattern is going to continue. While this won't have a huge impact outside of the lakes areas, it does matter for the folks up there. And look, more power to you. Dealing with a foot of snow in Virginia Beach and then trying to get back home to Wilmington the other day where we're not real used to it. You guys are up there, but that is a lot of snow. Anyway, that's day 4. And look, another clipper moves through, and they just like to come down and round that corner right there. So the lake snow pattern is going to stay intact for at least the next week. What we are not seeing, though, it's like the big bomb nor'easter has gone extinct. The Miller A type, where they come up the coast like that, or a Miller B. There's a lot of ways to get a Miller B. These are just different weather terms, where they turn the corner and they get their genesis kind of like that. We're not seeing that this winter just yet. And I still want to get up here to eastern Massachusetts, Scituate and Marshfield, and put our 360 cams on a couple of these houses up there from people that we've worked with in the past. But man, we're just not getting that deep energy coming down and then any southern stream energy for it to all phase and create a big monster storm. Again, that seems to be extinct this season, or at least dormant. Extinct means it's gone, right? Anyway, comparing to the 0Z Euro from last night, look, you're not going to get much major differences over a week, but I do like to look at both models, especially when we get to something important like a big storm or a severe weather outbreak. But we'll take the Euro out to 168 hours as well. And it's the same tune being played by the Euro, these little clipper systems. There's a little low pressure area there. There's the other piece of energy. And again, they're just rounding that bend right through here. And one thing that is going to happen too, we're going to really warm it up out west. So let me jump back over to the GFS. I do want to show you something. Let's just take this out to day 5. And let's look at the thermodynamics. And let's look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly. So 2 meters, 6 feet, roughly. I'm 5'8", so I'm not quite 2 meters, 4 inches shy of it. But 2 meters, that's where we all live and breathe, most of us, that are around 6 feet or so, right? The anomalies, the departures, look at this out west, a really notable jump in the surface temperatures for our western states. And again, that's why part of the hydrologic outlooks are being issued, because that is going to result into some snowpack beginning to melt. But this will bleed through, quite literally, into parts of the east over the coming week. Let's rewind it back to time 0, and it's warm out west, and then we really start to get a good warm up here in the east, generally speaking, as we move into, and now we're out to almost day 10 there, but the warm is coming, and you can really see that cold kind of etched into the northeast. A little cooler than normal down through the eastern side of the Appalachians because of cold air damming. But by and large, once we get into March, it is going to start warming up, at least these next few days. Look at that in the east. That's fantastic. But we're getting there. Spring's coming, and in fact, March 9th or something like that, we do the old daylight saving time, and all of our clocks will spring forward. Do you like that? I like that. I like extra daylight in the evening and get out and ride the bike and do some other fun stuff. All right, so one thing we will be watching, and different states are doing their severe weather awareness weeks, depending on where you are in the country. Those are pretty easy to find on your social media if you want to dial into that. And it's important because severe weather season, of course, comes with the threat. Very heavy rainfall, tornadoes, hail, lightning, downburst, that kind of thing. Luckily, over the next several days, not much of a threat. This is what it looks like on the Storm Prediction Center website. Let me see what happened here. Why is this not responding? It's just hung up. But we can look at it at least. There we go. I don't know why it was stuck there. So day 1 right here. And again, there's that marginal threat down in South Florida. These are just general thunderstorms, maybe a little bit of high elevation hail out here in the Pacific Northwest, but no major areas of severe weather over the next few days. But once we get into March, this is going to become more prevalent, which is, of course, what we'd expect. The warm Gulf will feed any storm systems coming through, and the entire east, pretty much east of the Rockies, March, April, into May, will start to get lit up. But at least for now, we don't have to worry about it. And, of course, once we get closer to hurricane season, I will talk more and more about items and topics related to the upcoming hurricane season. There's just not a lot to say right now, and there's no reason to raise alarm bells over something that's several months away. I mean, the usual caveats remain. Prepare now, and it helps you later. Do your mitigation projects as best you can in the off season so that we can be ready once this starts to crank up. We are less than 100 days away, that is for sure, but again, there's just not much news out there to really talk about it right now, so why waste time on it, is my perspective. And then the other thing that I will do is make sure in this weekly update that we have a little bit of other topics, something related to the weather, maybe a tweet that I want to show or a post from somebody, whatever. In today's version of that, trying to drop me off because I want you to pay attention to this and not me, National Tropical Weather Conference coming up. Look at it there, April 2nd, 3rd, 4th, South Padre. If you can go to this, I highly recommend that you do. It is a wonderful, close-knit, fairly small conference, only a few hundred people. Some of the conferences, and they have their pluses and minuses when you get 2,000 or 3,000 people. I like the close-knit camaraderie of this conference. We're all tucked away down there at South Padre. There's just, Orlando, New Orleans, whatever. People spread out. They disperse through the big cities. Here, we all stay at the same hotel, and we go to the dinners with each other, and we really start to network, and you get to know people and meet them and ask questions, and it's a terrific learning opportunity. So if you want to get involved, you still can, and it is reasonably priced. I mean, it really is. That is not that much money in the scheme of things. I know for some people it could be, but they keep it reasonably priced. It's a great group of people. I'm speaking there, of course, and then there are other folks as well that you're going to want to hear from. Check it out. I'll leave a link to this in today's description. HurricaneCenterLive.com is the address. But if you can make it, I'd love to see you down there. And it is a wonderful time, and South Padre Island always does a great job of hosting it. And all the different restaurants that have us do these dinners that we do, this dine around town kind of deal, that's coming up. Hard to believe. I mean, we're almost to March, for goodness sake. So, again, what I will do with these videos, this week there's just not much happening, so probably won't have another video until next Monday. But once we do get something in the pipeline, or if I say like today, there's not much happening and then something happens to pop up, and I think we really need to talk about it, I want to drill down and have you focus on it, then I'll do another video. Otherwise, these will be weekly. And then when we do get something, and especially as we get towards severe weather season, we'll talk about those particular events in more detail. And then eventually, once we get to the end of April into May and June, I will be out and about in the plains out here doing more hail research and observation. Actually, the observations are first, and then you do the research, but you get the idea. And then we're really going to have a lot to talk about. And then by that time, of course, we'll be looking at the coastline down here, because we'll also be into hurricane season. See, everything's coming. You know how time flies when you're having fun. I enjoy talking about the weather. Hopefully you enjoy listening and watching these videos and just keeping you aware of what I'm looking at and how it might impact you or me. All right? Well, that is it for me for this week. Have a good rest of your week and a good rest of your month of February. And unless something pops up, I'll see you again a week from today. I'm Mark Sutter. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in about a week.